Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the 52 Sunday Dinners Project, where we are taking this cookbook right here. This is the 52 Sunday Dinners cookbook from Women's World magazine in 1924. It has recipes created for each week of the entire year with seasonality and economy in mind. We are now at week 29. And for those of you who have not been following the whole time, we actually started at week 31 last year. So we only have one more dinner left to make. And kind of. That's not necessarily true. We have one dinner left to make. However, we haven't done every single recipe in this book. We've skipped the canning recipes. So I do plan to go back and recreate those canning recipes that we're skipping over for the most part at some point as we go on. But if you are new here, my name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian and I love everything vintage and food. And that's what's brought me to this, where we are taking these recipes 100 years later and trying to translate and recreate them in a modern kitchen. Now, if you're still interested, here's what we're going to be making today. We're starting off with a fruit cocktail. Then for our main dish, we're going with fried chicken. And with that chicken is going to be served a cream gravy. Along with that main dish, on the side, we'll have potatoes au gratin. And we have had that before, so we're going to try it a little bit differently today. Additionally, we'll have buttered beets. For our salad course, and hopefully this week we don't forget our salad again, we have a habit of doing that, but we're going with a stuffed tomato salad. We'll also have hot biscuits, and the recipe on this page is a sour cream biscuit. For dessert, we're going with fresh peach ice cream, and we're also having angel cake, which oh no, it says angel food. My apologies. Angel food cake. Now, oftentimes they give us a choice of two desserts. And I think in this case, we're actually supposed to be making both desserts and serving them together. That makes sense to me, and that's what we're doing. And we're back to our regular drink again. This time we're having coffee. If that sounds good to you, join me in the kitchen and let's see how all of this turns out. How many of you guys use containers but forget what's inside? So for example, I went and I bought sour cream for these sour cream biscuits, but my refrigerator also is like the state of my brain, and my pantry is always a mess. But I saw this, I've been seeing this in my fridge, and I'm like, well, I don't want to use the light sour cream. They wouldn't have had that before. I think we should use the regular sour cream. It is not sour cream in here. It's the horseradish that our wonderful neighbors gave us that is still in here. And this whole time I thought that we had run out of the horseradish. I pulled another one from the freezer to use it, and here it's been sitting, hiding, masquerading as sour cream instead. Oh, the lives we lead. Very, very exciting. So for these biscuits, we have our dry ingredients sifted twice already in this bowl. And this is my Fire King milk glass swirl bowl. I do believe I have a set of jadeite swirl bowls as well. Actually, I can see them behind the camera right now in my little display area. I have a set of, I think, the majority of them. I probably don't have the smallest one. That one is a hard one to find. I doubt I have that one, but I have the rest. But we're just using the milk glass one today. The flour that I'm using, I am using all-purpose flour this time for the biscuits because, you know, with the rest of the baking recipes that we've had, they've been a little hit or miss. And I would like to try out these biscuits, the sour cream biscuits, and give it our best shot at success. Now, I'm not sure if our friend and neighbor Gina is coming this week again to help us cook and to eat with us. And I'm starting this, I'm cooking today on, it's the 4th of July actually. Today is when I'm doing this. And I think she's supposed to come over tomorrow to help us, but I'm not quite sure. But she doesn't have to limit her gluten or anything, so we'll have her taste test these biscuits for us if she's here. And if she's not, I guess I'll go knocking on her door, maybe with a camera on her face, and say, Gina, try these biscuits and tell us what you think. But we are cutting in our tablespoon of butter, and now we're gonna add our sour cream. To me, that 1 tablespoon of butter just does not seem like enough, but what do I know? We're gonna add enough sour cream just to make this thick enough to roll out or to handle. And I don't know how much sour cream that is, so we'll start low and then mix it in together, and hopefully we don't put too much in. And I don't think that was quite enough, so I think we're gonna need a good bit more than that. Okay, I think we finally have enough in here to make it stiff enough to handle. I might have added a little too much, but we'll just put a little extra flour on the board here. I used, I don't know if you can see how much is in there, maybe a half of this container. So maybe 8 ounces, maybe 7. I guess we won't see because it's not like I'm gonna measure it out, but I think that's about close. Now let's get this floured and get this rolled out. Now I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour on the top here because there's sour cream just kind of sticking there on top. Flour rolling pin too. That's a 1/2 inch. I bet that's about a 1/2 inch. Doesn't look like it's gonna make very many biscuits. Let's see how many we can cut out of here. A 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, and we got 5 here, but I think we can get another 2 out of the leftover dough. Hey, look at that, we got 3 more and still some leftover dough. Potatoes au gratin, or au gratin potatoes, I forget which they are calling them here. We have pared and diced our potatoes, and I believe that we did these before. I think we made them a couple weeks ago or months ago, and when we made them last time we sliced them, so this time I thought we'd dice them, but they're boiling now, and we'll go ahead and let them boil for a few minutes, and once they're tender we'll take them out. Well, we did end up getting a dozen out of there. I didn't think we were even going to be able to get 6, but it looks like we got double that. We have our buttered dish right here. We have 1 layer of the diced potatoes. In is going our salt, our pepper, Parmesan, now our little dots of butter. The next layer, and repeat. We have our thickened milk here, pour right over top. The top layer already has the Parmesan, the butter, the salt, the pepper, so I think we are good to go with this. I definitely overbaked these biscuits. I totally forgot about them as we were doing the potatoes. So they're a little darker, I think, than is ideal. They're not burnt or anything, but they just are maybe a little harder, a little overdone. Just have to add a bunch of butter to them. For our angel food cake here, I do have the eggs beaten here until foamy, and it says to use an egg beater. And if you remember back, I don't know, a few months ago when Tori and Nani were here and I did a live while they were here, I did try to do an egg beater with the eggs, and it just did not work out very well at all. In fact, I think maybe we had been making an angel food cake when we used that beater, but we just used this one and I did it till it was foamy. There's not even soft peaks yet. Now, I also forgot to pick up cream of tartar again. So instead of cream of tartar, It called for, I think, a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. So as a substitute, we're gonna use a full teaspoon of lemon juice. Just gonna beat that in here. Okay, this looks stiff and dry enough. We're gonna gradually add the sugar in and carefully fold it. Don't know if I'm gradually and carefully adding this enough, but we're doing the best we can here. And we have our lemon and almond flavor added here. I think it's interesting that they want both lemon and almond. You'd think it'd be one or the other. I don't typically see those flavors together, but what do I know? Now our flour, and this flour we're using, I decided to go gluten-free with this flour because I would like to try this. I can't remember if we've used this specific recipe before or not for the angel cake, but I don't remember doing both lemon and almond flavor, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. We have our ungreased angel cake pan here. We'll put our batter hopefully evenly into it. Oh, it is plopping nicely. To me, it doesn't seem like this is enough sugar and flour for this to be a cake. It kind of just seems like a full-on meringue, but probably that's what this is supposed to be, and I don't know anything, so. Also assume it's going to expand tremendously, or at least I hope so, because it doesn't seem like very much in the bottom of this pan. Although this pan may be large for 1920 standards. Maybe the angel food pans were much smaller back then. Slide her on in here. For our peach ice cream, we have our milk and a double boiler on to scald while we get our dry ingredients together. In our bowl here, and this is a Fire King. I think this one is Fire King's is turquoise blue. Now I can't remember. I know theirs is not Delphite. And this one is not azurite, I don't believe. So I think this is turquoise blue. But who knows? We had this conversation a couple videos ago and I couldn't remember which was which, or I wasn't sure which was which. But in here is our salt, our cornstarch, and our sugar. Now it says 2-3 cups. And I don't think that's 2 to 3 cups. We've talked about this before also. I think it's 2/3 of a cup. They just used a dash instead of a slash. And we have our 2 well-beaten eggs here. We're gonna add that in. And our milk is scalding in the back here behind us on a double boiler, so that'll soon be ready to add to this. You can kind of see the color here of this. It looks quite beautiful. The eggs that we get from our neighbors are just always gorgeous. They're fresh and they are free-range chickens, so the yolks are always so yellow and just a delight to get. Now it says to add the milk into our egg and sugar mixture. We're gonna do that kind of slowly to temper the eggs and not just dump it straight in, which is probably what I would have done originally, not thinking about it, but we want to make sure these eggs don't scramble. So we're just gonna add little by little. All right, there we have it. All in there. No scrambled eggs. We're gonna pour this back into our double boiler and we'll get it scalded there. Now we're just gonna stir this constantly for a while until it coats. We have a metal spoon sitting here at the side, but until it coats the back of this spoon. I'm glad sometimes it doesn't give any indication or instruction, but here it does. It tells you how long to cook it and what is indicative of it being done. So that's very helpful in this recipe. All right, let's test this out. I do believe that's staying coated on the back of the spoon for the most part. I think we're done. We have our cooled custard mixture here. It's still a little warm, but it's mostly cooled, I'd say. Vanilla extract is here. And we peeled, crushed, and added lemon juice and sugar to this. The peaches, that is. That's what this is. And when I made strawberry ice cream, I think a couple weeks ago, I think two of you said you guys ended up making peach ice cream, and I was so jealous because that sounded just amazing. So seeing that peach ice cream came up this time, oh, I was so happy. And we have our cup of cream. And now all we have to do is dump it in a container and freeze it, I suppose. I cannot. Whoo, that scared me. It is, I think I mentioned earlier, it's 4th of July, so, and I live in the middle of a forest with a lot of campers, so they're lighting off tannerite at the moment, I believe. Anyhow, I can't wait to taste this. We are at day 2, and before we get started with our cooking, I just really want to show off my dress because I think it is the cutest thing ever. I feel really pretty today, and it's a Western style dress. I think I've talked about this before. I am not a line dancer or a square dancer. I don't really love most country music. However, I love these outfits. I think this is my 5th one now. And I came downstairs to start filming. Mr. Vintage Dietitian walked in the door. He went out and got some of the groceries that I was missing for this day. And when he walked in the door, he said, "Ooh, you look like a fairy princess." And I just, yeah, I am gonna say I am a Western fairy princess. And I just really love this dress, and I want you to also love it, and I want to show it off to you. And that's enough of that. Let's put an apron on over this and get back into the kitchen. We're gonna get into our fruit salad, and cherries are in season at the moment, so we don't have to worry about getting raspberries, although I do think raspberries would have been much easier to just rinse and throw in and instead of having to cut the seeds and everything out, but that's okay. We're gonna do what the recipe says. Now, the bowl that I chose to use this time, earlier I said I don't often use my jadeite swirl bowls, but I thought, well, why not take it out for this video, this recipe? It kind of matches my dress, so I think it's a good choice. We have our pineapple tidbits in there. And let's get our peaches, our cherries, and our bananas chopped up. I know I have a cherry pitter somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, and I've never actually used it. I've kind of just looked at it and thought it was pretty. But I don't know, do you guys use cherry pitters, and if so, do they work well? I'm just gonna cut these in half, pull the seed, stick them in like that. I know my fingers and fingernails will be stained red. It'll look like I was in a dead body or something. Probably murdered someone is what it'll look like. Yeah, just thinking happy thoughts while we're making this fruit salad. This is gonna take a while to get enough in here, so I'll be right back with the peaches. On to the peaches. I don't know whether to skin them or not. I don't typically skin my peaches. I feel like, I mean, they wanted us to skin the peaches for the ice cream, which makes sense because they want us to crush it. But I know lots of people skin their peaches, so, and they skinned a lot of things in these recipes. So I think we'll go ahead and skin them, and hopefully that's the right choice. This peach does not look great. I think we didn't get a good one there. It's all right. If these ones aren't so good, I want to use fresh peaches, but these are all we have left. If the other ones don't look so good, we do have some canned peaches to use in place of it if necessary, but I would prefer to use fresh for this recipe. All right, unfortunately, these peaches also were not very good looking. I'm glad, very grateful that the peaches that we used for the ice cream, the ones I picked, were good, but it looks like the ones that were left over in the bag of peaches we bought are not good. So I'm gonna go get a can of peach slices, I think, and we'll use those. Okay, we have peach slices. These ones are from Aldi, I believe. Just cutting them in thirds. hopefully that'll be enough for our salad. Now time for our bananas. Are you a top opener or a bottom opener of your bananas? Or is there some other method that I don't know about that is even more different than that? Right. I don't know if we need 1 or 2. We'll see how much this banana fills her up. Yeah, we're gonna go with 2. 1 doesn't seem like quite enough. That's pretty, I cut those pretty thick. Hopefully people like bananas. By people, I mean probably me, because I'm going to be eating it. I do like bananas. The bottom of this banana is a little brown. Okay. There we are. I'm going to wash my hands off and we'll get to the powdered sugar and the juice. Sprinkle our powdered sugar. I don't know how much a very little is, but probably this much, maybe. And by this much, I mean, I just have a large spoon, maybe what you might consider a tablespoon full. I think the fruit is probably sweet enough. I know they really liked sugar a lot on their things back in the day, but maybe their fruit wasn't as sweet as what we have, or maybe, I mean, they're using in-season fruit, so I don't know why they would need the sugar, but maybe it just wasn't quite as sweet, or maybe they just really loved sugar back then. Okay, there's our juice. Hopefully that keeps the bananas from browning. Yum! That looks delicious. Onto our tomato salad. We have our peppers and our parsley chopped up here. We're just taking, it says, a thin slice off the blossom end here. Looks thin enough to me. I don't know why I'm showing you like that. That looks thin enough to me. We're gonna scoop out the center. Actually, let's cut out the center before we scoop it, because we know I've had trouble getting the center of tomatoes scooped out before. Usually it is a pain in the butt for me. And I did have Romas to try this with before, but does this one say large blossom end? But no, tomatoes. I did have Romas earlier, and I used them for something else. I can't remember. Oh, the pot roast from last week. I filmed that just a few days ago, actually, and I ended up accidentally using those, forgetting that I needed them for this. So we have just a regular beef steak, I believe. So actually that's not too bad since we cut it. It looks okay. And okay, we are supposed to mix it with this here. I'm switching out knives. Just whichever one I stick in my hand, I suppose, is the one I'll use. I'll put a little salt and pepper in here. I don't know if I've talked about my salt and pepper shakers before. They are both Jeanette, although McKee makes one very similar to this block shaker. This one is my pepper, but its neck is not quite as prominent. It's more of like it comes up more and goes into the neck a little less obviously, I suppose. And this one is the Beehive Shaker by Jeanette, both of them jadeite. And actually, with as much jadeite as I use, you would think that was my favorite glass. It's not, actually. Jadeite is probably, of all the different colors of glass, one of my least favorite colors. I think that's probably why I use it. The other ones I keep to the side to not use them because I don't want to ruin them. But Chalane Blue, any of my glass people out there, Chalane Blue is my favorite. And then probably Caramel and Black are my favorite colors. But by far, Chalane, best one. There we have it. We also have a lot of clam broth glass as well. And we just have a lot of glass in general. Our house is not kid nor dog friendly, nor It's not me friendly. I break stuff in here all the time. All right. Here is our stuffed tomato. We'll get it on lettuce and get some mayonnaise on top of there. All right, we have our salad here, and I've kind of lumped up the lettuce on one side to make it lean just a little bit less. And we will top her off with some, I'm going with Miracle Whip this time because you all know how I feel. And boiled dressing is kind of close to Miracle Whip, I think, closer than mayonnaise. So that's what we're going with, and there's our salad. Oh no! Did you guys, can you see that? Oh. There, if you want to see what just happened, and it's not showing on camera. I set it down all proudly and excitedly, and after I was just talking about how I made sure it was upright and not leaning really, it just fell over completely. It spilled out. Oh well, we're just gonna tap it down in there like, I don't know, like what. There, we're gonna seal it off with that mayo. For our beet recipe, I decided to use canned again because it specifies that it wants us to use young beets. And the beets that we're finding in the stores, they're those honkers that are like this big. They are not the young beets I don't think that they're looking for. I know that once you boil them, beets are tender regardless of their age, but I think these young ones are going to be more of what they had in mind with that kind of nice tenderness. So I'm just gonna chop them up, and I believe it says to chop them up, I hope so. Oh yeah, cut in cubes. So we are going to cube these-ish. And then we're just gonna put them in the double boiler with a little bit of butter. I don't know why it wants a double boiler for this. I guess if it were me and I wanted to just warm them up with a little bit of butter, I'd put it in a regular, everyday, I don't know, saucepan, but it specifies double boiler, so that is what we'll do. Beets in our double boiler. Have our butter. Let's get that melted in here. And you can't forget a little bit of salt. These will be done in no time. We have our chicken here. We're gonna chop it up into some pieces. And once it's chopped, I have my flour over here. Now, the recipe calls for salt and pepper in the flour. And we've talked about this also before, where they would have either known to season things, that's why they didn't leave it in the recipes, or they would have just, even if the recipe didn't call for it, they would have added their own seasonings as they saw fit. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna season it a little bit. Now, Gina, I'm guessing, couldn't make it. She isn't here, so she won't get to share the tip that she shared with me last time when I told her we were making fried chicken. But she was telling me a story about a friend of hers who is from the South, and her friend said that her dad makes the best fried chicken ever. And I believe it was this friend and the dad. She told me a lot of hilarious stories. But in order to make the chicken extra crispy, he would add cornstarch to it. So I don't know if that's common knowledge thing, if that's something that everybody adds to theirs. I have never done that with my fried chicken. Usually I do like a double dipping. Like I'll do the flour, seasoning and flour, and then an egg wash, and then either breadcrumbs or more flour. But this one, we're just going straight with the flour, and we're gonna do our pieces. It says we can cut each piece into like 6 or 8 pieces, I think it said, if it's small. Now this isn't too small, but I wonder if that means to cut it off, like if we're supposed to cut it off the bone, or if we're supposed to leave the bone in. I don't know. I'm leaving the bone in for this. I'm not gonna cut it off the bone. I think these are plenty big enough. We have our chicken cut up. I did cut, I think, what is the tenderloin off the breasts because it was already kind of hanging, and the breasts are pretty big. These are some significant breasts. Now, I'm gonna dry them. I don't think it says anything about drying, but I am just gonna dry them, salt and pepper them, and then put them in the flour and seasoning. There is already seasoning and salt and pepper in that flour, but I don't know, I don't think you can over-season your chicken. I mean, maybe you can, but I've not seen it done before. We are dried. Hands are washed and cleaned. We're just gonna salt and pepper a little bit on these. We'll get them floured and then we'll get them in the oil. I have a little bit of leftover oil from before when we did chicken, or I don't know what we fried last time that I just filtered and saved the oil for. Right now it's a combination of that, which I might have been avocado oil, and which they definitely wouldn't have had back then, and shortening, maybe some butter and some shortening in there. Right now we have shortening and whatever was in that leftover oil from before. I have no idea. Make your best guesses. I can tell you it wasn't olive oil, for sure. Flouring, making sure we flour every part of it, every little nook and cranny's got to get some flour in there. I think our oil is nice and hot, but not too hot. It does say to not have it not be too hot because this could take a while and we don't want to burn our chicken here. So I have it actually on between 1 and 3, and I have a gas stove that goes up to 10, I believe. So it's pretty low. I guess I could have put a thermometer in there. That would have made more sense, but. Our chicken is measuring in. It's not as dark, maybe, as I would normally see it, and maybe it's because of the flour that we're using, or I'm not sure, but it is measuring in at the correct temperature, so put it on a platter and I'll stick it on warm in the oven. You know, it didn't work out like I expected. Our angel cake, or our angel food, was supposed to fall out of this whenever it cooled, and it didn't do that. So we have to, I guess, I don't want to just push this straight through now that I'm seeing it. We'll just cut around the edges here to loosen it and then hope it'll come out. Always gets stuck on the little cone as well. Now will you fall out? Woo! Sort of. Will fall out of this part, but not off of here. Did you have this trouble with the date part too, I feel like? Oops. Certainly not as tall as I expected. What about you? Did you expect it to get much taller than this? I kind of expected it to get up to here or something. Alright, we got it. This is what we're left with. Not the prettiest. A little bit flat. Wah! Don't fall. It looks like a giant pineapple ring to me, and it is very, very sticky. Okay, now we have to make the cream gravy, and here's where we ran into an issue last time. What we did last time was just take a little bit of this fat and put it into another pan, because this is very hot grease, and to drain it is going to be problematic. But I felt like we were missing out on all the good stuff that's down at the bottom that gives it all that extra flavor. So I think what we'll do for now is I will take this cast iron and pour the majority of the fat into the other pan that I normally use for everyday cooking. And then we'll let it cool in this pan before we strain it and drain it. Would we all like to participate in some collective anxiety? Oh, there's some collective anxiety. I never turned this burner off. And my pigtails are hanging over top of it. Okay. Let's participate in some even more collective anxiety, and you can watch me and my clumsy self try to drain from this container this cast iron into that one. All the flames are off so that if we drop anything or spill it, we won't cause a giant grease fire, hopefully. All right, this is heavy. Woo! Hot and heavy. And there's a lot of crust on the bottom. That's probably enough. It says to coat the bottom of the pan. I think that's enough, and of course you can see all of this leftover whatever at the bottom. I don't know if we want that or don't want that in our gravy. I'm gonna leave it because I think it'll help it be thick-ish, and I think it probably has a lot of flavor in there. Also, I'm gonna need to do a very thorough scrubbing of my stove after this. You know, I was going to measure out some more flour to use, but we do have all of this leftover pre-seasoned flour we don't want to waste. So I think, and this is going to cook all of that salmonella out of it. So I am just going to use what was left over from the breading for this gravy. It says we don't want it too thick or too hot, but you know, it wanted 2 tablespoons of that, but also maybe we had too much of the fat left over on the bottom. Maybe we should double it. All right, let's let that cook a few minutes. Then we'll add our milk and we'll be ready to eat this food. Okay, we actually ended up adding all of the flour from that bowl, like the rest of it, and then some more of the flour that wasn't part of it. I just measured out a little bit more with some more, maybe 2 more tablespoons after that, and just a lot. I'm thinking maybe it's just the flour that's not thickening up. But oh, there we go. Now it's thickening up. I'm probably going to have to add more milk now that I've done that. I know, this looks like a lumpy, terrible disaster, but we're gonna get there. Don't you fret. And when I tell you that my kitchen and probably house in general smells heavenly right now, oh my. It smells good in here. All right, lumps are coming out. It's getting smoother and creamier. Probably definitely gonna have to add more milk though. I've made way too much of this, which makes me think now I'm gonna have to, the rest of the week, just figure out some more food to put this over top of. Ooh, biscuits and gravy. Look at that. It's not sausage gravy, biscuits and chicken gravy. How does that sound? I mean, I can't eat the biscuits, but one of my neighbors can. Yeah, I think that's when it says don't make it too thick. This is probably too thick. Let's add a little more milk. I don't know how much more I'm adding. Some more. Several ounces. Couple cups. Your guess is as good as mine. Actually, your guess is probably better than mine. All right, that's better. We'll let that just cook and warm up a little bit, and then we're gonna eat it on some chicken. All right, I have built up an appetite. I'm hungry, and it smells so good, so I'm even hungrier. And we're starting off with a fruit cocktail. And this is something that we have seen periodically, the starting of the meals with fruit, something that I have enjoyed so far. And let's give this a taste. We'll get a little bit of everything in each bite we have. Peach, cherry, pineapple. Well, they don't want to stay on the fork. Get on here. And we got one of those thick slices of banana. It smells overwhelmingly of banana. I don't really even smell the other flavors. The other flavors? I don't smell the other scents. That's great. I don't think we really needed the powdered sugar for this. All of the sweetness of these fruits is perfectly adequate and fine, but yeah, this is delicious, and this is a really fun way to start instead of ending, as we've talked about before. Usually this is the way we end a meal, or if we're at a picnic, you kind of have fruit salad along with all of your other foods, but it's a great way to start off. So for our main course, we do have the chicken, but before I put it on the plate, I did want to show you the dinner plates I'm using. These are the Hazel Atlas crinoline dishes. This one, my favorite one, is the pink edged. We use just the plain ones without any color on them often. And I believe there's also a turquoise set. I don't have any of the turquoise. I have like a half a dozen of these dinner plates, and I know that I have some of the teacups and saucers because we have started going through the storage in our barn, and we found some of them, but we've been separating and donating some of the items we're not going to keep, and we are going to keep those teacups and saucers, but we packed them back away, so I don't have them here with you to show you. I was just thinking that would be perfect to serve our coffee in this time and have it together with this matching set, but alas, I'm not prepared again. Let's get this dish filled up with our potatoes au gratin, our beets, and our chicken with the gravy. Here is our plate full. We have beets that are adding a nice color to this dish because, again, we've noticed that too a lot about this menu, is that there is a lot of just kind of brown, bland, beigey food going on. This does add a nice little color to it, and just wanted to show off again, this is Nani's mother's gravy dish. So she passed it down to Nani gave it to me. Now we're eating our gravy, and all of you are eating or pretending to eat, experiencing this with us, and we're having this at a giant YouTube dinner party. I'm gonna go actually in on the sides before I do our main dish. And beets are my favorite. I've never had them this way, just with a little bit of butter and salt warmed up. We're gonna try them. That's really good. It really kind of focuses the flavor of the beets, like that earthiness, and adding that fat to it with the butter. I think it complements it really, really well. Now, usually I like my beets, pickled, but not not sweet pickled, like just pickled, or Nani makes them for me where she boils them, cuts them into larger chunks with olive oil, vinegar, and oregano, maybe a little bit of basil, I'm not sure, and some salt, of course. That's my favorite way. But this, having it warm like this is pretty good too. Now, we made our potatoes au gratin before we sliced them, and I really like the look of this dice better. And I don't know, I kind of feel like it's going to taste better. It's probably going to taste exactly the same, but just visually, I think it's more appealing. It smells really nice. Those are pretty good, not bad at all. I can't say that I'm typically an au gratin fan, but these, I like the cube much better, I think, than I like the slices. This is pretty good. Ooh, let's try it with a little bit of the gravy. I bet that was intended. Or maybe not. I guess it's milky on its own, but we're going to try it that way anyway. It does go really Start over. It does go really nice with that gravy. And bonus, we've tried the gravy. The gravy is really, really good. You can taste all those different seasonings and flavors in there. And I guess the heaviness of it, maybe it's supposed to be a little more thin than this, so just a note, don't keep adding the flour. You should just stop at the 2 tablespoons like they tell you to. Let's get in on this chicken. It doesn't feel as crispy on the outside as I like mine, but that's okay. It looks very juicy on the inside. Ooh, it smells good. I'm gonna try it with and without the gravy. Without and then with, actually. What I mostly taste is just the chicken. I'm not really getting the flavor of the breading. Maybe the breading just isn't thick enough because it's really only like a dusting. But for me, for fried chicken, this is just okay. Let's get a little, actually, these tenderloins look a little bit crispier and like there's a little more breading on them. Let's try one of the tenderloins. Now, the tenderloin is better than this breast that I chose, and usually I don't choose the breast, usually I choose the leg or something, but this tenderloin is better than the breast, but it's still not my favorite, which is surprising. I really thought I was gonna love this, and my mind is being brought back to the chicken that we like braised in, I think it was just in water, but with that salt fat pork, that was delicious. I think that is probably better than this fried chicken. Yeah, just my opinion. It's not bad, but it's not the best. Let's see what it tastes like with the gravy. Ooh, and there's a nice crispy couple pieces on the edge here. That's going to be delicious. It is good with the gravy, but I think I might almost like it better without the gravy. I don't know if, for me, I associate gravy with fried chicken like this, but maybe that's just a personal opinion or a personal preference. The gravy is good. The potatoes are good. They go really well together. I don't know that I love it with the chicken. Now, if you did something like, do my American friends, the KFC bowls, if I were to chop this up, throw these potatoes, this gravy, this chicken all together, maybe add a little bit of corn, I mean, that would be great together. But for classic 1920s, this is okay. This week we are remembering the salad. We have our tomato stuffed with peppers and kind of stuffed with mayo now. It's supposed to be topped with mayo, but we spilled it earlier, so now the mayo is just stuffed down in there to seal it so it doesn't fall out. I assume that you just cut it to get into it, and I know they probably had maybe a little larger appetites because they were moving more back then, and maybe some of these other things were in smaller portions, but this salad, like an entire tomato, were they being served the whole tomato per person? Like if it's a 6-person meal, as this was supposed to be made, were they doing 6 separate tomatoes, or was it like you split one, or was the tomato one and you split it 6 ways? Just a whole tomato plus all this other stuff seems like a lot to me, but again, what do I know? Oh, I smell everything in there. The parsley smells really good against this. Okay, let's try. That wasn't bad. Switching to Miracle Whip makes this a lot easier for me for mayonnaise. I probably wouldn't be saying that if it were mayonnaise, but, and I know mayonnaise and Miracle Whip aren't that much different, although I guess there's usually Team Mayonnaise and Team Miracle Whip, and you're usually very for one and against the other, which I am. But it, I don't know, mayonnaise, no, Miracle Whip, yes, but salads in general, to me, like if it's served with either mayo or Miracle Whip, doesn't seem like a salad to me. It just seems too heavy to be a salad, but I like Miracle Whip, and I think I've said this before, Miracle Whip and tomatoes together on a sandwich. So I think they do go well together. And, I was asked several weeks ago, and I keep forgetting to talk about it, how I feel about salads being served in the middle of this meal when typically in American culture now, salads are served prior to. That's your starter, is a salad. And we've talked about this too. It's probably related to restaurant culture, but anytime I've gone to Italy, the salad is often in the middle, and I like it that way. I think I might prefer the salad in the middle. Actually, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I think if I'm getting a salad, I'm happy either way. And sometimes you eat a salad as a whole meal, so you're not going to get a salad appetizer or, a salad course after. But what about you guys? Do you remember having your salads in the middle of your meals when you were growing up? Have you always had them beforehand? American. And probably, I assume Canadians, are you the same? But anybody who is across the pond in Europe or Asia, or I don't know if we have any African viewers yet, but when do you guys have your salads served, and how do you feel about it? The headless lady is going to tell you about this cake. I am interested in cutting into it to see what it looks like inside. And if you see, I did take a picture of it earlier. I put the ice cream in the middle, so there is a little peach ice cream going on right there. But it's soft. It does feel spongy, like angel food cake. If you want to see what it looked like inside, there you are. Oops. All right, now let's get some ice cream on this plate. There is the peach ice cream. I think the color on it is gorgeous, that custard color from the egg yolks. And our egg yolks were particularly dark orange because they came from our neighbor who has free range, and they were very fresh eggs. The angel cake does not smell very strong of anything. The combination of lemon and almond in here is interesting. I think most angel food cakes I've ever had have just been a very subtle vanilla flavor, if I'm remembering. So this is different. I can't say it's the best texture I've ever had. It's not bad. It's just not as light and fluffy as what I am used to. But, you know what? I wonder if that is because, and I'm not sure if it is or isn't, we used duck egg whites for this because it didn't call for a certain number of egg whites. It called for an amount. So I used the duck eggs in this, and I don't know if it's related to that or, I mean, who knows? Who knows why? But it's good. It's just not the best. Now, this is what I've been looking forward to, is the peach ice cream, because a couple of you talked about making peach ice cream. It smells very delicately of peach. Oh yeah, that is the stuff. And if we would have had a churn or used something along those lines to break up these ice crystals, it would have been so smooth and so much better. It's already delicious. It's already wonderful. But if we would have broken up those ice crystals in between, it would be perfection. Let's try them together. They go very well together, but actually I think I could do just with the ice cream. I could leave this cake out of the whole equation and go just with this ice cream and be perfectly happy. This is delicious. Overall, this meal was somewhere in the middle for me. While I did really like some of our sides, that the beets were really good. I really liked starting off with a fruit appetizer, which we've talked about that a lot before. And that peach ice cream, it was delicious. Now, the rest of the stuff was, just okay for me. You guys know the esteem at which I hold fried chicken. So to have it be just mediocre is a disappointment for me. And the angel cake, it was all right. I think I'd give this one a 6 out of a 7. 6 out of a 7? No, a 5.5 or 6 out of 10. Nutritionally, same thing. There were some really great aspects of this. There were several different types of vegetables that we had in here, and we started off with a fruit cocktail. We added fruit to our ice cream. However, we deep fried our main dish. Some of our sides, like our potatoes, were laden in milk and butter and cheese. And then, our beets too had a lot of butter in them. Our ice cream was delicious, but it is very, very heavy cream in there. And, over our salad also had mayonnaise in it. So I'd give this one also maybe a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. Budget-wise, this one wasn't too shabby. I think we had our whole chicken for like $10. Overall, I'd say this one is probably around 40-ish, maybe $50 for 6 people. We ambushed Gina and Jax over here. Say hi, Jax.
Say hi.
Hi, Jax.
And say hi. She's
gonna try the biscuits and the gravy together.
Okay, I put the gravy in the microwave for about 20 seconds. So
Okay.
It's a little hot. It's tasty though.
Good.
It's a little kind of hot.
They good? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just enough salt.
Okay.
Nice and I like my biscuits more well done. I don't like them to be like I don't know. It's not that they're not flaky, but just like puffy
Okay.
and gummy.
Yes.
So when they're crispier, that's my preference.
Oh, well, that's perfect because I was concerned because I overbaked them. I thought they were in there too long and going to be too like crispy or dry. So
That's my
that's
preference.
perfect for you. Jax, how do you like your biscuits? Does Jax eat biscuits? Yes.
Jax will eat virtually anything that you give him. Yeah, it's tasty. So.
And if you like what you saw today, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so that you never miss another video. Now join us next week for our very last official Sunday dinner of the 52 Sunday Dinners Project. And we're going out with a doozy in which I am going to attempt to make cold boiled tongue. See you next week.